Well, joining us in remembering Dim Odumegwu Ojukwu this morning is Mr. Emmanuel Anyaegbunam, who is a historian, public affairs analyst, and also a lawyer. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, the news over the weekend on Saturday came to a lot of people as a big shock, knowing full well that he's been away receiving treatment in London for almost a year. Did it come to you as a surprise?
Well, it naturally anyway, when we say that it's shocking anyway to have the demise of one of Nigerian historic figures, actually, but having up to 70-something years of age. 78, one will say naturally somebody at 78 will be on the departure launch of life, and then having had a stroke at that time, and then historically anyway, like I have always said, the man has these characteristics, born in November and leaving the stage in November, so one wouldn't say more that, but it's a big loss anyway to the country.
Okay, he was one person believed to be the galvanizing force for politicians in the southern part of the country, and indeed the nation as a whole, as a member of the House of Reps, spokesman for the House of Reps said in the statement. What do you think will happen now that he's gone?
Well, like you say, I would say Ikemba was more or less a phenomenal enigma. If you look at his life very well, he was of the aristocratic blood, but decided to join the masses. A son of a West African first personal millionaire, who after King's College and was living in Elton, you have to see that, Oxford, left that and then joined the army as what? A mere regular soldier, and then rose to colonel and the rest of them, then to lead the Biafran campaign. Came back again. You see, I think we have to bear this in mind. A very good mark for the Nigerian history. That he came back when he went into exile, came back a hero, was able to join MPN then, contested even for Senate. After that, he came back at the next transition when three political parties, if you remember that in 2002, what Obasanjo administration registered them was NDP, UMPP, and then APGA. Later, the APGA now saw Ikemba as a galvanizing force, more or less, to move into, if we want to be honest with ourselves, a southeast movement that has some flashes of beyond that place. And you have seen, apart from Anambra and Imo, where they've got the governorship, then at a point in time there was a cloudy PPA influence. So I will say, to a reasonable extent, he was able, apart from leading the Biafran campaign, coming back to the political turf. But if we assess him objectively as a politician, he never won an elective post, unlike his father. So now thinking that, in Nigeria we have this issue of being the best Nigeria never had once you die. But when you are alive, you still be one of us. So on that platform, one can say, but to see him as a galvanizing force for the whole of the southern part of this country, then is a very uphill task any person will assess. But I would say on the emotion of having had a depleted hero, one will say yes, he was able, within APGA, like I have said, if you take the assessment of APGA as a political party, they are now grappling with two states. If you compare the Southwest, where we see the influence of UPN through Awolowo, still manifest through ACN. If you compare both fronts, then you wouldn't ascribe much as that. Like I'm saying objectively anyway, without being immodest or too emotional to any side. Balance the issue the way it is.
Some say he came to national prominence in 1966 when he was the military governor of eastern Nigeria. How did all of that really amount to his political, should I say, weight in the southeast today? Because that was as a military governor. Then from the military era, we saw about two coups, a coup and a counter coup, which finally, the rest is history after the Nigerian Civil War.
Well,
so after that particular Yamoussoukro event, which saw his pardon, how did he come into politics again?
Well, you see, the issue, if we start, like I said, Ikemba was a very lucky person in the sense that the coup of January 15, 1966, Nzogo, Ifeajuna, Ademoyoga, and the rest of them, Ikemba was not a part of them, in short. But after the coup, he now became the military governor. He was actually in Kano, and if you read some of the war literatures very well, you will see that he wasn't really in support of that coup. Like I said, those who were at the forefront of the coup eventually became his victim because Ifeajuna and Banjo were shot in Biafra. So now, after the coup of July 29th, then it became obvious that it was a kind of a reprisal. Then the issue of national question became very obvious. Well, by every estimation, if you think by conspiracy of circumstances or whatever it is, those who died in the first coup were mostly northern officers. Then the reprisal came, and Easterners had to pay, very painfully anyway. And then the likes of Fajui, we have to place, that's why I say we have to place our history very well. Like of Fajui paid the price to see that Agui Ironsi, rather let two of them go. Then after that, the issue, national question came up. Like a lot of people have talked about going over to Ghana on Aburi, the issue of confederation. And I have always asked one question. Senegambia was a confederation, it failed. See, Committee of Independent States of Russia that came after USSR, is it working? All these were issues, but like I said, he was a big, a flamboyant, he read history anyway, and I think he made the best out of what Churchill did to Britain. Then when the push came to a shove, he went into exile. And on negotiation chip, because MPN had no stronghold in Southeast because Zik was there. Then they went as number 2 man, looking for legitimacy and the rest of them. Ikemba become a viable instrument of MPN coming now to restore that part of the country. You saw what happened in Anambra State then. If the case of Nwobodandono is still a Supreme Court issue. So Ikemba came back, though he didn't win the senatorial battle with Onwudiwe. We have to put this in focus as well. But after that, like I said, he reintegrated himself because he came back a hero. That was when he took Ikemba on coming back. And then the Nigerian large-heartedness, if like General Lee, even in American history, has a limited area to compare with what happened here. Ikemba reintegrated back. Then after that phase, you remember that, like I said, he was a good dramatist. When they were in Kirikiri and there was a riot, it was Ikemba who came with his handkerchief and was shouting on them that he was a general. Later, he reintegrated himself. Like I said, more often than not, if you look at Ikemba's antecedents, he won't come out on the first phase of the issue, but later on, he will one way or the other. Then after that, he was a real public showman in the sense that he's not the most beautiful lady in the country, married her then. Then as the politics came up, Apuga, like I said, you have seen the Apuga battle from the High Court to the Supreme Court. Ume and the Chekwas. More or less, Chekwas registered the party, and along the line, then now we are looking for what? Legitimacy or relevance within the Southeast. And they once again saw in Ikemba a viable platform to carry their campaign through, which they did, and eventually he became more or less a guiding spirit of that political party.